I'm sorry, you gotta see here. Sorry about that. Let me see if the angle is right. I have to be sure. Oh, sorry. Okay. We're in the right spot.
Great.
Okay. Good.
Let me just move my wood over here.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, do I address you as
Just-
Mr. Louis Mazel?
Louis Mazel, yeah.
Mazel.
Mazel.
Mazel. Okay. Just want to get that right. I made that mistake once. Mazel.
Mazel, yeah.
Now, should I mention this, your title, Deputy Chief of Mission, or should
Just say I work with the U.S. Embassy in Singapore.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. So basically, I will ask the questions about the U.S. elections and how it works, the Constitution, and how does the U.S. government work, that sort of thing. Basically, and after we move forward about the U.S. elections.
I think it's better to go with the elections. I mean, when you're talking about how the U.S. Constitution works, it's just too broad a
Okay.
topic. I'm not a constitutional expert, so I'm
Okay.
more comfortable with the elections questions.
Okay, well, then we'll go do that. So, 1, 2, 3, tests. 1, 2, 3, tests. Good morning. 1, 2, 3, tests. The National Critics' Choice, the Steinberg Review. 1, 2, 3, tests. You ready, sir? After I count to 3, and I will introduce you to the camera. And once I've done just a short introduction, I'll just turn to you and we just have a conversation.
Okay.
So you don't have to face the camera, you just have to face me, all that. So that's how it works. 1, 2, and 3. Hi, welcome to the National Critics' Choice Online News, and welcome to the Steinberg Review. I'm Robin Steinberg, and today we have Mr. Louis Mazel from the U.S. Embassy in Singapore that's going to give us some updates on the U.S. elections. Mr. Louis Mazel, thank you for joining me here on our National Critics' Choice show. Tell us more about the coming elections right now in the United States, and how does this impact the way voters outlook? Do you think Obama and Romney stand a chance?
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this event. This is an incredibly close election in the United States. It's probably one of the closest elections in American history. The outcome is really not known at this time. It's very unclear because so many of the critical states in the United States that will make up the majority for the Electoral College are still very, very close. The polls show the President and Governor Romney in a virtual tie in about 9 or 10 states in the U.S., and nobody is predicting the outcome of this election.
Now, the issues that's been brought across right now, do you think Obama will probably may serve another term, and if he does serve another term, how does this impact all the policies right across the board, including foreign policy?
Well, I think, again, the election is so close, no one can predict who will be the winner. But in terms of key foreign policy goals, especially with respect to Asia and Southeast Asia, I believe there will be continuity. I think this is a very, very important region for the United States in terms of trade, in terms of regional stability, peace, security, human rights. All of these are very, very important issues to the United States and to the nations in this region. And regardless of whether the President is re-elected or Governor Romney is elected President of the United States, I think there will be continuity in terms of U.S. policy in this region.
Now, about the relationship between Singapore and the United States and also Southeast Asia, in terms of trade and also culture and promotions and military security, do you think that there will be more enhancement towards investments. Do you foresee that? Do you think the U.S. is going to continue to invest more into security as well as trading?
Well, certainly Singapore is very important for U.S. Trade and economic interests in the Southeast Asia region, as is the United States for Singapore. In terms of investment, we have about $116 billion of U.S. investment in Singapore at the current time, which is more than we have invested in places such as China or India. So Singapore is very critical to U.S. investment goals and the growing U.S. trade with Southeast Asia. Last year, for the first time ever, two-way trade between the United States and Singapore exceeded $50 billion US, which is very, very significant. So Singapore and the wider Southeast Asian market is very critical for U.S. exports and the creation of U.S. jobs. Similarly, there are major Singaporean investments in the United States. And as the U.S. economy picks up, there will be more opportunities for Singaporean investors and more opportunities for Singaporean manufacturers to export to the United States. So hopefully, with the economy on the mend, U.S. consumers expressing more confidence, according to a poll issued today, things are picking up on the economic side in the United States. Now, will this be reflected in the elections? We'll just have to see, because the key issue in this U.S. presidential election is the economy and jobs. As you're probably aware, for the past 4 years, there's been persistent unemployment in the United States of over 8%. And for the United States, that's pretty high. So people have really been hurt by the weak economy over the past 4 years. But in recent months, the economy has been picking up. The unemployment rate is down to 7.8%. And we'll have to see whether this helps the president on election day on November 6th.
Now, how does, right now, Romney and Obama taking advantage with the situation right now in New York, because there has been a recent natural disaster, which is the typhoon that just went across the United States. And what do you think of Mr. Bloomberg's, Mayor Bloomberg himself, taking advantage to underscore many of the issues right now, because there's a shortage of energy, shortage of food, and so forth, and people are just wondering if Obama is doing anything at all.
Well, they just had a poll issued in the last couple of days that showed that 80% of the American population felt that the president was taking good leadership in terms of the federal response to the natural disasters that have struck the entire east coast of the United States, but particularly Delaware, New Jersey, and New York, where the damage has been most profound. The president, as you know, suspended campaigning for a number of days to work on this issue, to visit those who were impacted by the tragedy in the state of New Jersey. He toured that area with the governor, who was a Republican governor, by the way, Chris Christie. So I think that people feel that the president has been very much on top of the issue, has had a strong hand on the federal response to the issue, and people will have to determine next week whether this improves the president's prospects. I think now the president has returned to the campaign trail, visiting some of the battleground states, and the campaign is back on. But certainly the campaign, for all intents and purposes, was suspended for a number of days, while the president and many state and local officials dealt with the great tragedy, an unprecedented storm that hit New York, New Jersey, Delaware, other coastal states, as well as leaving trees down, huge snowfall in certain areas of West Virginia, and the like. So it was a great tragedy. We're still digging our way out. New York City still has about 9 million people who don't have power in the New York metropolitan area. I was just on the phone this morning with a friend of mine who lives in Staten Island in New York City. I was able to reach him on his cell phone, but he does not have power in his house, hasn't had power since Monday. So, it's a great challenge, but, we Americans, we're very resilient people. We've had very generous offers of assistance from many countries around the world, and individuals as well, and we appreciate that. New Yorkers, of which I'm one, we're tough folks, and we will rebound. It will take some time, but we'll rebuild, we'll rebound, and Americans, and New York will be the glowing city it has always been.
Has Singapore offered any assistance as well?
We have not received any formal offers of assistance from the government of Singapore, but a number of individuals have contacted us, and we've directed them to the appropriate websites where they can make cash contributions to the American Red Cross and other non-governmental organizations that are bringing relief to the people who've suffered as a result of this storm. And I think it's a very good thing because, as you probably know, whenever there's a tragedy around the world, the United States is the first nation to offer assistance. And we are often very generous with our assistance for tragedies such as the tsunami in this region that occurred a number of years ago, or the earthquake in Haiti, or earthquakes in Pakistan and other places. So we very much appreciate the gestures of individuals in the region, Singapore and the like, who've offered to provide financial support to the American Red Cross and other organizations.
Now, how long will it take for New York to recover from this disaster?
Well, some of the areas have been hit quite dramatically, such as the coastal areas in Staten Island, coastal parts of New York City as well, Battery Park. I know the subway system is not running in that area. I know there's still no power in a lot of parts of Lower Manhattan. It's going to take a while, realistically, to rebuild. Certainly in terms of Staten Island, a lot of homes were lost. There's one area in New York City where there was a fire that broke out when the water was at its high point, and 111 homes were destroyed. It'll take time to rebuild those homes. I think the mayor is working hard to get the subways back running, to provide additional bus service, and to help New Yorkers dig out of this mess. But as I said, New Yorkers are resilient people. They're proud people. It'll take some time, but they'll be back stronger than ever.
Now, what sort of measures did Obama undertook this crisis management in, and what sort of safety nets that has he put in place to ensure that his campaign is not affected at all?
Well, I want to differentiate between the campaign and his response. His response has nothing to do with the campaign. The campaign, clearly there's going to be an election next week, but as the president stated, the campaign will take care of itself. The important thing was to ensure that Federal Emergency Management Agency officials, or FEMA, were on the ground consulting, providing assistance to state and local governments, declaring areas disaster areas, ensuring that federal funds could flow to these disaster areas. That was the key thing for the president and for his administration. That's completely outside of the presidential campaign. Presidential campaign is going on, but the president was meeting his obligation to the people, to the affected peoples of that region, by ensuring that all federal resources were mobilized to assist people in those areas most impacted.
Now, it seems that Romney has taken advantage to offer assistance, and also he carried on to campaign on the issue of managing the crisis as well, alongside with Obama. Now, what's the poll like?
Well, the thing about Governor Obama, he too was doing what he could to assist those who were impacted by the storm. He was using his network of private charities, collecting, doing food drives, and encouraging people to contribute. I think both candidates realize that when you have a tragedy like this in America, you come together. You put partisan politics aside, but you come together to help the people. Again, I want to separate the campaign from the tragedy. The campaign is something that's going on. Campaign workers are still out there working. Surrogates are still out there speaking for the candidates. But when the tragedy struck, both candidates basically suspended their campaigns and put all of their efforts towards assisting those who were impacted by the storm.
Let's move forward. Insurance. Insurance plays a most important part in the United States. Now, do you think the people in the United States had enough of being overcharged or undercharged, or probably even been understated? And do you think that they would want to see Obama or even Romney to have a better reform in their insurance policy?
Well, I think that people clearly who had flood insurance in those areas will fare better than those who didn't have flood insurance. I don't know what people were paying for their insurance in those areas. I think it's too early to tell how many of them had the coverage and how much will be paid out. People certainly who live in flood-prone areas are encouraged to have proper insurance on their homes to cover flooding. As for it becoming a campaign issue, I don't see it becoming a campaign issue right now. I think there are other major issues in this campaign, but certainly levels of insurance or insurance premiums is not one of those issues. Many people in America do have insurance. They have homeowners insurance, they have flood insurance, they have fire insurance, they have theft insurance, they have life insurance. It's very common for Americans to be well insured. So I think that again, for those who lived in those areas, if they had flood insurance, I think they'll be in good shape. They'll get the money to rebuild. If they didn't have flood insurance, it may be a more difficult road uphill for them.
Now, will Obama be imposing human rights laws? Especially right now, he has a very strong endorsement towards the gay and lesbian community. Now, do you foresee that he might nationalize laws that will allow every state in the U.S. To have gay marriages legalized?
Well, I don't think it'll be a federal law. States vote individually. Gay marriage is legal in certain states in the United States, and it's not legal in others. It won't be a federal issue. It'll still be a state issue, whether Mitt Romney or President Obama is elected the next president of the United States. In the United States, we have a very strong federal system. Some things are left to the federal government. Many other laws and issues are left to state and local governments to decide. Many states have voted on gay marriage. There will be a vote on gay marriage this year in the state of Maryland. Some states have legalized gay marriage, such as Vermont and New York. Others have rejected it when it's been on the ballot. So we'll just have to see. As you correctly noted, the president supports gay marriage. He eliminated discrimination against gays in the military, and as such is likely to receive substantial support from the lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and gay community in the United States. But as for it becoming, some type of nationally imposed issue on states, I don't think that will happen in the United States.
Now, what about guns? Now, Obama has seen and witnessed himself during his term of office that now how has the ownership of guns has imposed a threat, especially for parents and to their children in the recent years. Do you think that the people in the United States, especially even the administration, would they come to a point where right now in the history they will want to outlaw gun ownership?
I don't think that will occur in the United States. The Constitution protects the right of an individual to own guns in the United States. States and localities in the United States regulate gun ownership and regulate licensing of guns. It's a state and a local issue. I don't expect that there will be a major change in issues with respect to gun ownership, whether President Obama is reelected or Governor Romney is elected president. Again, it's many people in the United States hold passionately to their right to own firearms. It's been in our Constitution since 1787, and I don't expect a major change regardless of which candidate is elected next week.
Although it's dangerous.
Well, anything can be dangerous. Operating a vehicle can be dangerous. Certainly owning a gun can be dangerous if it's not stored properly and kept away from children. But operating an automobile or operating heavy equipment or operating machine tools can also be dangerous if not done properly.
Now, let's come to the rights for the unions as well as the Employment Act in the United States. Now, right across nationwide, do you feel that the Obamas would impose new laws and new constitutions for the empowerment of the unions? Because it seems what we have observed is that Obama is trying to learn best practices and lessons from Singapore and other countries, and is taking back to the United States and trying to formulate a better system where unions can be more under control by the federal government or any other governance. So just so that employment can be more attractive for both an employer as well as an employee. Do you see that happening?
Well, certainly we want to do everything we can to create jobs in the United States. That's why U.S. exports, and particularly U.S. exports to Southeast Asia, Singapore in particular, are so important. On the issue of unions and labor in the United States, certainly the President enjoys strong support from labor unions historically. Labor unions in the United States have supported politically the Democratic Party candidate for president. So I think President Obama does enjoy strong labor support. But unions are independent. They're not controlled or run by the federal government. They're independent of government. They mobilize their members to get out and work in campaigns, to contribute financially to campaigns. That's very much a bulwark of the American political system. Similarly, employer associations, companies, the American Chamber of Commerce also contribute financially to political campaigns. That's the nature of our system. Everybody has a say, whether it's labor unions, employers, business federations, and the like. It's a very open process. The issue has been for labor unions in the United States. It's been a steady trend towards decreasing union membership in the United States. A lot of the new plants that have opened, many of the new automobile plants, particularly those that have opened in the southern part of the U.S., are not unionized. The old plants in the northern part of the U.S., particularly in places like Ohio and Michigan, Pennsylvania, and the like, plants that make vehicles and auto parts, many of them are unionized and are part of and the employees belong to the United Auto Workers Union. So it varies. Again, it varies from state to state. Some states have a heavier union presence, heavier labor that are unionized. Some states, the United States, have a much reduced role for labor unions. But generally, you find that labor unions in the United States do support the Democratic Party candidate for president, and in this case it would be President Barack Obama.
Now, moving forward, education. What do you see the future of education for the United States? Because we saw there's been cutbacks, especially in California, on education. And so, do you think Obama, if he takes on the presidency, and should the people decide to vote for him, do you think he will increase funding for education?
Well, clearly the president has stated that education is critical to the future success of the United States, to the success of the United States as a leader. Education has always been very important. If you look, for instance, at the number of Nobel Prize winners every year and historically, the United States has the vast majority of Nobel Prize winners, particularly in fields such as chemistry, math, all of the sciences. So education has always been at the forefront of United States policy. But yes, a number of states and localities, because of the weak economy over the past 4 or 5 years, education has taken a hit. State governments have reduced support for education, have reduced the number of scholarships. The president certainly believes that education is critical, particularly higher education in the sciences and math is critical to the success of the United States. And this is one of the areas where I believe we can learn from Singapore in terms of education, because Singapore does so well in its math and science scores. And I think there have been exchanges between educators in the United States and Singapore, looking at some of the models that Singapore has employed so successfully to build such an educated workforce. And certainly some of the models in terms of math and science can be directly replicated in the United States. So I think that no matter who gets elected president, education will always be critical in the United States, ensuring opportunities for higher education, ensuring that there are enough places, ensuring that the young people in America can get the loans necessary to pursue higher education. And all of the studies show that those who have a university degree over a lifetime will earn much more and fare much better than those who don't have a university degree. So education is critical and vital to the success of America.
Now, speaking about education, what's happening right now with research and development for NASA? It seems that the president wants to cut back on that program.
Well, we've cut back on some of the manned space programs and some of the shuttles, but there's still a lot of research that goes into the space program. Obviously, there have been numerous inventions that have come out of the space program. People in NASA are brilliant scientists. They've worked on this for many, many years, and hopefully the money will continue to flow into research in that area, because so much has been accomplished through the space program. So much has been accomplished through the shuttle program, the International Space Station, and the like. But money has to be allocated based on the best prospects. I think perhaps the shuttle program was successful over a period of time, but we will look at new ways to explore space, new ways to continue that vital research in America.
Now, do you think the president, Mr. Mazzal, do you think the president is going to continue to reinforce military and security, investments as well as funding throughout the world? Because everybody sees the United States as the police of the world, and at the same time, the people in the United States felt that, on the other hand, there's a mixed feeling that on one hand, some say that is not a necessity to police the world, and on the other hand, they say that, well, we need to create jobs and therefore it is a necessity.
Well, I don't think Americans view our role in the world as policing the world. I think many people view our role in the world as working towards a world that has greater peace and security and stability. The United States has maintained a robust presence in the Pacific since World War II, and I think that's enabled countries such as Singapore, Malaysia, and many others to grow and prosper under the regional, through a program of regional stability, security, and peace. The region has, for all intents and purposes, been at peace since World War II, and I think the United States, through its strong presence in the region, particularly basing of our troops along the demilitarized zone in Korea, in Japan, has ensured the stability of the Asian region since World War II. Now, Americans, again, the American people, if you ask them, do you want the America to be the policeman of the world, overwhelmingly they will say no. But they do want the United States to maintain a robust military to ensure that we are not attacked, to ensure freedom of navigation around the world, and to ensure that the United States can project military presence globally. That's why we have a very strong Navy, a very strong Air Force, and the like. But ultimately, our goal is to promote peace, security, and stability, because peace, security, and stability allows countries to grow, allows economies to grow, helps build wealth, helps make people healthier, safer, richer, and better consumers for American products. It promotes increased trade. And that's our ultimate goal, is to promote, any leader will tell you to promote a peaceful and prosperous world.
Now, what is Obama has to offer in terms of economic reforms? Because right now the U.S. dollar has been weakened for quite a while. Is that healthy? Is that a good thing?
Well, it depends how you look at it. A weaker U.S. dollar obviously helps sell American products, because American products become cheaper and more competitive with the weak U.S. dollar. But then again, it also makes imports more expensive for the United States. So, on balance, I think that certainly we want to have a monetary policy that promotes U.S. trade, U.S. exports in a way that creates jobs. Now, I know in recent weeks the Singapore dollar has increased in value against the U.S. dollar. It's probably a good thing for the U.S. because, again, it makes U.S. exports U.S. exports to Singapore cheaper. But then on the other hand, it makes Singaporean manufactured exports to the United States a bit more expensive, so it may have a bit of a negative impact on the economy here. But if this is a decision taken by the Singaporean Monetary Authority, and it allows Singapore to reduce inflation by making imported goods less expensive. So these are just decisions that economies take around the world based on their own self-interest. In the United States, unless it's an American who's traveling a lot or doing business overseas, the weaker American dollar does help U.S. manufacturing.
Now, before we close, what are the three key things, the kinds of reforms you will see after this election?
Well, I hope the major reform that people will see is that the Americans will come together as a people, that will work together on our problems. We always do. I know there's a lot of partisanship and rancor, and you hear that particularly during an election campaign. But when the election is over on Tuesday evening, and it'll be Wednesday morning here in Singapore when the results will come in, the American people will come together and realize that we have issues to deal with, whether it's economic issues, issues of education, issues of health care, issues relating to U.S. foreign policy, particularly the ongoing conflict in Afghanistan. I think Americans will come together, and whoever is elected president will realize that we have to work together as a people to ensure not only that American people can live a peaceful and prosperous life, but that people around the world similarly can enjoy peace and security and prosperity.
One last question, and that is the issue with Israel and the Middle East and the Arab Spring. You know, how does America right now view in today's terms? Do you think there will be peace coming right across in our lifetime?
Well, there are two separate issues here. One has been the Arab Spring, and as you know, the United States was very supportive of the people's desire for change in Libya, Tunisia, and Egypt. We have had popularly elected governments in both Tunisia and Egypt, the freest and fairest elections in the history of those countries. In Libya, it's still a challenge in terms of forming a government there that can deliver services to the people. So that's one issue. As I said, the United States was supportive of the Arab Spring and the desire of peoples in those countries to live freely and to reject dictatorship. The Middle East issue between Israel and the Palestinians, as you're probably aware, the U.S. policy is that there should be both Israel and a Palestinian state living side by side in peace with prosperity on both sides of that border, but that the terrorist attacks against the state of Israel must cease, and that countries in the region must recognize the existence of the state of Israel and move forward to engage with Israel as we seek to bring about a peaceful resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But again, the United States policy is to support the creation of a Palestinian state that lives in peace and harmony side by side with Israel.
Now, what about the issue of Iran and Syria? Do you think that Iran will come to their senses where they need to come to the table and have some form of peace talks?
Well, the United States certainly position on Iran is that Iran should abandon its nuclear weapon program. That poses a threat not only to other countries in the region, but a threat to the United States as well. It's our hope that Iran will come to the peace table, will reassure the world that its nuclear program is for peaceful uses only, will abandon any idea of building nuclear weapons, and will attempt to demonstrate that it accepts the existence of Israel as a nation, and that it will live in peace with its neighbors.
Now, about Syria, you know, the changes that's taking place in Syria right now, do you think Israel will come in and take certain steps and action?
Well, we think that the issue in Syria is an internal matter. You know, I can't speculate what Israel might do, but there's been no indication up to now that Israel is going to intervene in any way in the Syrian crisis. Really, it's an issue between what has been a very repressive government and people who are, again, seeking liberation, perhaps looking to the model of the Arab Spring to seek a better future and come out from under the yoke of the Assad regime. Again, we're hopeful that there will be some type of transition in Syria that enables the people to speak freely, to live freely, and to not be subject to repeated attacks by the Assad regime.
Let's come back to the United States again right now, and finally, the issue of children. Obama has a very strong filial towards children, and especially with what has happened in the recent term, and I know that what I'm going to talk about is guns again. Do you think right now, and I've got some source saying that, you know, there is some prospect that some of the states in the U.S. may want to regulate gun ownership. Do you think that will happen?
You know, again, I want